it's recording right now, and then you just start talking like, hey, today video is going to be on how to see relationships with parents, if it's going to be a good relationship, bad relationship. So that would work.
Okay.
Okay, so you can go ahead. You don't see me, right?
I don't see you, right? So you can
Okay,
pick your nose or do whatever you need to do.
Okay, Zoom. How do I mute myself?
It's the volume far left
Right,
of the menu bar.
Okay, so it's recording, so I'm gonna mute myself right now, okay?
You just want me to start?
Yeah, just start. And then I will put a caption in the beginning in my edit.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go then.
Here we go.
Hey everyone, it's Kapiel Raaj, and we're here with another episode. Wait, it's not Kapiel Raaj? Who is this new imposter guy? Hi everyone, it's Simon, and I'm here on Kapiel's show. And I'm here to present how to judge relationship with parents, because apparently that's what the topic is today. So without any further ado, let's dive right into it. And so the question from Kapilji was, how can we tell in a horoscope if you're going to have good or bad relationships with your parents? And if so, the next step is, when would that relationship be can be ameliorated? So this is a question that falls. It falls under the judging any matter protocol, which means to judge anything, relationship with your parents, finances, career. The basic protocol is you want to look at the relevant house. So the house for mother is the 4th, the house for father is the 9th. And in traditional thinking, this gets about 40% of the consideration. Then you want to look at the house ruler. That gets 40%. And finally, the Karaka, the significator for that house, which gets about 20% worth of value. So if we're looking for father, for example, we would look at the 9th house, the ruler of the 9th lord, and the sun. Okay, pretty simple. Now, rules are made to be broken. So I like to break rules. So I'm going to give you a little hint, which is any one of these, if they really stand out, can indicate a bad or a good relationship. What do I mean by that? Well, the Karaka, even though it's 20%, let's say for father, if the sun is severely afflicted in your chart, that could be enough. You don't necessarily need the 9th house to be bad and all of that. So let's take a look at an example chart here. This is the chart of Richard Burton, who is a world famous, or was an actor, a world famous actor. So here we go. We have the North and the South Indian style. I hope everyone can see this. And there I am. I can see myself. Hey, everyone. So Richard Burton was widely considered one of the greatest actors of his generation. Why? Because he has a beautiful Amala Yoga. Amala means unstained, unblemished. So professionally, he was highly regarded. The definition of Amala Yoga, a lot of you may have this, and every person I know who has this yoga is highly regarded in their professional field. The definition of Amala Yoga is not Amla Yoga, not sour yoga, Amala Yoga, the unstained. Mala is stain or weight, bad stuff, and is the negation. The definition is benefics in the 10th from the lagna or the moon with no malefic influence. Now here you're going to say, but wait, Saturn aspects. Yes. And because of that, he wasn't knighted. He actually left England and he said, I don't want to pay English taxes, but he was to the level where the Queen was going to knight him. but they said, come back to England and we'll knight you. And he said, no, I'm going to live in Switzerland. Anyway, so there's a little stain on his reputation, but generally he was highly regarded. Despite that fact, he never ever received recognition from his father. His father never once gave him a compliment in his life. Why? Well, let's take a look. So we're going to look, and by the way, I'm using the North Indian, but you can just as easily see in the South Indian chart, he's a Meena Lagna, okay? So you can follow along. So the ninth house has a benefic in it, Mercury, and has no malefics aspecting. So the bhava itself looks good, strong, right? What about the ninth lord? Well, the ruler of the ninth house, Mars, is in the eighth house. Now that's a problem. That's a negative. So if we're scoring this, just to give you a little thing on the protocol here, how to judge any matter, not just father and mother, but anything. So the house is going to get, we could say a plus because it has a benefic in it. The house lord is going to get a minus because its ruler is in the eighth. Okay. What else? Its ruler is with two malefics. That's going to get a couple more minuses. Okay. So the ruler is heavily afflicted. Or if you want to just give it one minus, that's fine. Those two malefics count as one minus. Whatever you want to do, in either case, the house ruler is heavily afflicted. Okay. And finally, to break the tie, let's look at the Karaka. Karaka means significator, or comes from kar, the root kar, which means to make something happen. So he's the significator that indicates the matters happening with the dad. So the significator is the sun. And what do we see with the sun? Also in the eighth house, also debilitated, and also with two malefics. Folks, this is about as clear cut as you're going to get. I know it would be nice if the ninth house also had Rahu Ketu in it and bad stuff happening to it, but you're not going to see that in real life. So here we have a clear-cut instance. This man, Richard Burton, did not attend his father's funeral. He refused to go. In fact, we can take this a step further. Because of the heavy affliction to the ninth house and the ninth lord and the sun specifically, Richard Burton was a well-known alcoholic. He was known to drink a couple of giant bottles of vodka a night or whiskey and to smoke 200 cigarettes a day. 200, that's 10 packs a day. Okay? Why do we have that? Well, we can look at the second house of what you put in your mouth, and the ruler of the second house, which is also the ruler of the ninth, is heavily afflicted. It's that Mars. And his Saturn, his sense of self. But I would say a lot of this stuff stemmed from his relationship to his dad. He learned to drink because his dad was a drinker. Anyway, without overanalyzing, what we're looking at here is father issues, right? So here is a clear instance. Yes, so here's a great question from our audience. This is someone, Kapiel Raaj, Kapiel Raaj, okay? Kapiel Raaj says, what about divisional charts? Well, I don't know if Kapiel is his first name or his last name. Mr. Raaj, let's say. You would absolutely look at the divisional chart, and I'm getting to that in a second. So hold your horses already. The divisional chart for parents is the D12, okay? And we're going to look at that in a minute. The reason I'm not going to look at it for Richard Burton is because his birth time, which is listed at 3 p.m., is probably not 3 p.m. Anytime you see a birth time that's on the hour, you got to be suspicious. And so we haven't rectified this chart. But even so, if we were to look at his D12, let me look at the D12, and I am going to go over it more in depth. Because of that very strong conjunction of Sun and Saturn in his natal chart, this is his D12, folks. Do you see Saturn, Sun are together in the D12? Sun is the Karaka for father. So again, the Sun is afflicted by two malefics and no benefics. Meaning, and this is a technique we're going to use, the Sun and the Moon in the D charts, if they're afflicted in bad houses or afflicted by malefics, it is another way to indicate bad relationship. But let's just stick with this for now. So there's a clear case of bad father. What about mother? Well, mother would be the fourth house, but his fourth house and fourth is not nearly as bad as his ninth. Okay, so let's take a look at another sort of it. So this is an extreme example. Here's another kind of extreme example. This is the chart of Nicole Richie. By the way, I got this stuff by Googling let's see if I have this in my, no, I got rid of it from my screen. I Googled which celebrities don't get along with their parents, and it gave me the top 10 celebrities, and I just started clicking on them. I had no idea that Nicole Richie was adopted, for example. She's the adopted daughter of Lionel Richie, and so her mother gave her up. And for a long time, they had a very poor relationship with her birth mother. Okay, so let's take a look. Applying the pro forma of the house lord, or the Karaka. So as I said before, this is a general rule, but in Richard Burton's case, the Karaka was heavily afflicted. It was in the 8th house, that's 1 minus. It was debilitated, another minus. And it was with two malefics, Saturn and Mars. There's another minus. So here we have a clear case. This was Richard Burton's chart of two of these, and you have 60% overwhelming the meanings of the house. If you count all the minuses, you get a total of 5 minuses and only 1 little plus. Clear cut. So let's do Nicole Richie. So let's look at her relationship to her mom. Let's look at the house, the 4th house. Well, there's nothing in it. Let me pull up South Indian as well, because I'm hearing South Indian pundits already telling me, Simon G, are you forgetting about us? No, I'm not forgetting, I promise. Voila. So here is 4th house. So we have Saturn aspecting the 4th house. So that's a negative. And that's it, no benefics. Notice a theme is happening here, that no benefics influence a house and only a malefic influences it. That's a problem. If you want, you can count Rahu's aspect on the 4th, Rahu's 5th aspect, if you count that, but we don't have to, we don't need that. Okay, so the house gets a minus. Let's do Nicole Richie now. The house gets a minus because of Saturn. The ruler of the house is Mars. Now look at Mars. He's in the 12th house. That's a minus. He's debilitated. That's another minus. And he's with a malefic. 3 minuses, folks. The 4th house ruler is hammered. Utterly hammered. And again, no benefic influence. This is the key. Neither the 4th house nor the 4th house ruler has any benefic influence on it. Finally, the Karaka. What is the Karaka? Moon. Now, moon is in a decent house. It's not a dark moon. So you could maybe give it a baby plus, little baby tiny plus, that at least it avoids, you know. But moon is in Ardra. Ardra moon, which I've done 2 whole videos on separately, one on remedies for Ardra moon and one on the subtleties. One of the subtleties is the person will never get along with their parents, especially the same sex parent. Ardra moon woman will generally not get along with her mother. Ardra Moon man will generally have troubles with their father. So here we have Ardra Moon, and that gets a minus because we're talking about mother, not because Ardra is a bad nakshatra, but in the area of same-sex parent, it's going to create difficulties. Okay, 90% of the time. I can't be absolute about it because I haven't seen all charts, but it's very common. So the Karaka is afflicted by being in Ardra and also by being aspected by Saturn. So now we're definitely in the minus category. There was some hope because Moon is in a nice, decent house, at least not one of the bad houses. So for Nicole Richie, Mars debilitated, that's a minus. Mars in 12th, that's a minus. Mars with Rahu, that's a minus. And then the Karaka Moon got a plus for being in 11th, and then a minus for being aspected by Saturn, and a minus for being in Ardra. So again, look at what we have. Just count, tally the minuses. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minuses and only 1 plus. Just like Richard Burton. Clear-cut case. Is this making sense, guys? I hope it is. And again, not all 3 have to be afflicted. Thank you, Mr. Rage. What about her D12? Okay, good question. So what about Nicole Richie's D12? So let's take a look. And what if the moon is good in the D12? That's excellent question. So what if the moon is good? So I'm going to give you the secret to the divisional chart. Y'all ready for this? I hope y'all ready for this because I'm going to drop it on you. Ready or not? All right, let me just put the South Indian here. Y'all ready for this? Yes, okay. Let's take a look at her D12 and her moon. Well, her moon is debilitated in the D12, but it's aspected by a benefic Jupiter. Sheshadri Iyer says the benefic Jupiter ameliorates many, many afflictions in a chart. Furthermore, the moon is Digbala. Aha. Now, wait a minute, Simon. That doesn't make sense. Yes, her moon is debilitated. So a debilitated planet tends to start off weak. But if it has support, if it has Nicha Bhanga, which in this case it does, then, and especially it has the aspect of a benefic, then it is a reformable. It's like a kid who steals hubcaps when he's young, but then he goes to jail for a little bit, and then he becomes, a wealthy CEO because he reforms himself. That's Nicha Bhanga and the Raja Yoga and Jupiter's aspect. So what gives? Well, the thing is, Nicole says she has repaired her relationship with her mom, but nonetheless, we should have a clue. So here's the big secret I'm going to drop on you. In the D chart, use the D chart for timing. Boom. Use the D chart for timing means, yes, the moon may be okay in her chart, but when? When is she going to have the problems with her mom indicated by the main chart? And when is she going to have some of the resolution that this chart indicates? Moon aspected by Jupiter with Digbala. So the way to resolve that is by looking at her Dasha Bhukti sequence. So I haven't looked at it. I just snuck a peek, but let's look. Here's Nicole Richie. And she is in Saturn. She was born in Rahu, then ran Jupiter, and then is now in Saturn. So in her, so let's go back to that worksheet. Here is the D12. So the rule for the divisional charts is If a planet is in a negative house, 6, 8, 3, 6, 8, or 12, it will create negative results. Saturn is in the 8th house. So Saturn is going to be a really tough period for her relationship with either of her parents. Okay, but what about Rahu? She ran Rahu when she was a kid. She was born in Rahu. Rahu is in a positive house, the first, but it participates in a yoga. And if you guys want to learn more about this, go to learnastrologyfree.com. It's Hank Friedman's site. He has a whole free lesson on the divisional charts, how to interpret them according to Mr. Iyer. But the basic rule is when there's a malefic across the 1-7, if there's another malefic, it creates a Papa Kartari yoga. So Rahu here participates in a very bad yoga across with Mars, which means Rahu, Ketu, and Mars will give very bad effects in their period. Of course, she was given away for adoption, even though Rahu is in a positive bhava. Okay. Now, she also ran Jupiter. Why didn't things improve in her Jupiter period? Well, Jupiter is afflicted by 2 malefics, Mars and Saturn. It's in the sign of an enemy, but it's in a good house. So things may have stabilized during this Jupiter period, but the trauma of being born in Rahu and raised in Rahu would still have followed her. So I don't know if this, how is Rahu creating Papa Kartari? So here's the rule. Papa Kartari is when you have a malefic on either side of the ascendant, right? Mr. Iyer expanded the rule to having a, so here we have it like this. In fact, let me make this red. Okay, so we have a malefic, M stands for malefic, and a malefic. This is where the North Indian is useful because it shows you it's bhava oriented. Sheshadri Iyer said if there's a malefic here and here, it also works. He said, you know what? If there's a malefic here and one here, this also works. If there's a malefic here and a malefic here, that's also Papa Kartari yoga. And obviously one here and here. Okay? But what about the 1st and the 7th? Yes, if there's a malefic here and a malefic here, that's also Papa Kartari. But if it's just Rahu Ketu, if it's Rahu and Ketu, no Mars, that is not a Papa because Rahu Ketu are always opposite. In some divisional charts, they'll be together, but we don't punish someone for having Rahu Ketu in the Lagna, unless there is another malefic there. And in this case, that's Mars, and he fulfills the criteria. Okay? So this is also Papa Kartari. So in 1-7, it's the 1st and the 7th houses are involved, and in 4-10, it's the 4-10. And it's not even so much the houses, the planet. So when you run the period of the Papa Kartari planet, it's going to be bad. And all we have to do is turn to her life experience. She was given away for adoption. So do you think her relationship with her parents was good in Rahu or bad? No, it was bad, obviously. And Rahu means foreigners, strangers, and she was given away to a stranger. Now, it ended up making her famous. So there's that beautiful Gaja Kesari yoga and the moon's, Nicha Bhanga. So there's a bunch of yogas here. So she did end up becoming famous in her Jupiter period, especially. But during Rahu, things were bad for her in the area of family. So Mr. Iyer says anything in house 3, 6, 8, or 12 is going to produce bad results. So her sun period will also be negative, for her father especially. How would you use Ashtaka Varga at all, or would you use Ashtaka? Sure, if you know how to use Ashtaka Varga, you can look at transits, you can look at which houses are strong. I don't use Ashtaka Varga, so I'm not the person to ask, but absolutely, you could supplement. Okay, so Nicole Richie, but let's go back to the main chart though, because the divisionals do fill in a lot of blanks, but I use divisionals for timing. Okay, when is the relationship going to be bad and when is it going to improve? Okay, so that's Nicole Richie. Let's take a look at someone else. I went down the order of this list. Top 10 celebrities who have beefs with their parents. And again, I deleted that list, but you can just Google it and it'll come up. Okay, so let's look at who else. Oh, Drew Barrymore. Now, Drew Barrymore, actually, let's look at another one. This is a young woman named Ariel Winter. She's on the show Modern Family. And apparently she disenfranchised herself, or she legally separated herself from her parents. Like, she went to court and legally, what was it? Emancipated herself. Okay, yeah, I've got LeBron James's chart. We could look at his chart as well. All right, let's just look at Ariel's here because it's an interesting case study. She emancipated herself from her mom. So what is the pro forma? Well, for mom, look at the fourth house. And what do we see immediately? Two benefics. Well, that doesn't make sense. Okay, two benefics. Well, it means her mother's circumstances will be good. So the house itself gets two pluses. What about the ruler? Well, the ruler is in the sixth house, minus. The ruler is with two malefics. And again, I'm using the North Indian. Sorry, let me go to there. And let me go to D1. Get all of this stuff out of the way here. I apologize. Okay, so the ruler was with two malefics. So now we got two pluses for the house, two minuses for the ruler. What about, oh, and by the way, no, there's a minus for the house. Saturn also aspects the house. So let's just tally. We got a plus for Mercury, a plus for Venus, and a minus for Saturn. That's the house. The house lord is in a negative bhava. He's in the sixth house. That gets a minus. The house lord is with a malefic Mars and a malefic Ketu. Okay, so now the malefics are starting to take over. The significator is the moon. And what do we have with the moon? Well, the moon is a new moon. It's a dark moon, and it also gets a minus. So here, it's not so clear cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minuses, 2 pluses. Is it a hopeless situation? Well, not necessarily. But so if we're not sure, let's go to the D12. So I use the D12 to, when I'm not sure, when the D1 is not clear. With Richard Burton, the D1, clear. Father is his enemy. With Nicole Richie, D1, pretty clear. With this girl, two benefics in the fourth, I want to make sure. Okay, let's go to the D12. Boom. Boom. And let's take a look. Oh, and by the way, before we do that, let's see what Ariel is running. So she's running Rahu. She's in a Rahu period. Okay. So Ariel is running Rahu, and immediately look, boom. Rahu is in the sixth house. Rahu, furthermore, is involved in a Papa Kartari Yoga with another malefic in the eighth. This intensifies its bad effects in the sixth house. Yes, Rahu is with a powerful benefic. So there will be a good result in the end. But Rahu in the sixth court case, lawsuit, sixth house lawsuit. She literally sued her parents to become emancipated, free as like a 15 or a 16-year-old. Because legally in the United States, you got to be 18 before you're an adult. She emancipated that's not how they were perceived. Oh, okay. So apparently I'm frozen. Let me turn off my video. Okay, hopefully I'm back. So to summarize, with this young lady, her fourth house was mixed. Some good things. Let's go back to her chart here. Her North Indian, two benefics, one malefic. Her fourth lord was afflicted in the sixth house by two malefics, and the moon was a dark moon. So the preponderance of evidence is bad. But to make sure, we went to the D12 and we saw that at the time, right now in her life, she's running a period that is also heavily afflicted for parent relationship. Rahu in the sixth house in a Papa Kartari Yoga with Mars. Boom. That's how I use the divisionals to get my timing. Now, will it get better in Jupiter? That's the question. What do you guys have to say? Yeah, I think so. Why? Because Jupiter is in Pisces. I know I've written a lot here. There's Pisces. And Jupiter is in something called the Mishra Sankhya Yoga. Again, study Iyer for this. But he's the benefic part of this Sankhya. So he's not afflicted by the Papa Kartari Yoga. He's outside of it. So in her Jupiter period, things will improve. So this is an easy prediction you can make. If she's in front of you, Ms. Ariel, I will predict for now, no problem, but starting in 2020, your relationship with your parents will begin to improve dramatically. Okay? Easy. Okay, so could one of the parents pass away? Well, certainly. I mean, first of all, you got to ask, are they of a certain age? But yeah, Jupiter, Saturn. Certainly when she runs a period like of Ketu or of Saturn, because they participate in a Papa Kartari Yoga, it could be problematic for her parents, sure. And again, Jupiter's placement in the sixth is not ideal, but it is bolstered, it's strong, being in its own sign. So Jupiter's definitely better than Rahu, though, for her parents. Let's do one more chart, and we'll just do some questions, because I went down the list, and the next one was, oh, you want to do LeBron? Okay, let's do LeBron. Fine, LeBron. I don't know his relationship with his parents, but let's see if we can find out. So, yeah, boom, let's do dad. Let's do dad first, because that one is screaming out at me. So what's the pro forma, guys? House Lord, Karaka. So for father, let's go straight to the ninth. Let's do this. Let me put up the Janma Rashi here. Boom, boom. Janma Rashi, South Indian style. Boom. Okay. So, all right, you guys do this. I'm going to just put my ear out to the ethers. So what do we have? Ninth house has a malefic in it. That gets a minus. Ninth house has a benefic in it. That gets a plus. Anything else? No. Okay, so the ninth house is mixed. Okay, what about the ruler of the ninth? Uh-oh, ruler of the ninth, Saturn, is in the sixth house, bad house. He is exactly conjunct the malefic Ketu. Ketu means the void, bad. And he's also with Mercury, but Mercury is very far away. Look at the degree that the ninth lord is situated in. This gives me pause. When a planet is in the final 6 degrees of an odd Rashi and the first 6 degrees of an even Rashi, it's called in Mrityu Avastha. Mrityu Avastha means the dead situation or condition. So being in Mrita or Mrita Avastha means Saturn is dead. So I would say his father is dead to him in some, either the father passed away, or Ketu, maybe he didn't know the father, or the father ran away. But that's a negative too. And again, let's see what the ethers are saying. Also with Upaketu, yeah, Upaketu is also bad. Uranus, if you use the outer planets, gives a strange situation, gives an unusual situation. But in any case, Saturn is in the sixth, he's with Ketu, and he's in Mrita Avastha. Not good. So I would, now, and finally, let's look at the Karaka. The Karaka is actually well placed, and the Karaka is with a benefic. So there's a big plus there. So for Sir James, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 minuses and 2 pluses, which is leaning towards bad, right? Now we could go to the D12 and let's take a look. It's a little slow, I apologize. Let's D12. Okay. Well, what do we see? So first of all, let's do the static interpretation for the father. Well, the sun is in the negative house, minus. It's with a malefic, minus, and no benefic aspects. That's not good for father. The moon, let's look at his relationship with mom. Moon is in a negative house, but it's in a Shubha Kartari Yoga with Venus. So that actually lifts up the mother. So I'd say his mother probably was, well, I think I actually know this about him because he grew up poor. She took care of him, I believe. And, but she did, so she was limited. She was Dina. She was deprived. But I think his affections were good because there's a Shubha Kartari Yoga. Now let's look at his timing really quick. What is he running? I think he's running Venus. Yeah, from 2001 to 2021. Well, Venus is in the 8th house, but it participates in this yoga. So I would say Venus is a good period for him. But with respect to father, his Sun Dasha will be bad. Sun Dasha, maybe his father will pass away here. So overall, for father, we get 2 more negatives. So if we add those to the 4 negatives, we get 6 minuses and only 2 pluses, clear-cut picture. So do you know what, he grew up with a stepdad, okay? And bio father ran away when he was 3. Boom. There you go, book picture. And that Ketu tends to do that. Ketu gives the disappearing person, you know, who runs away out of fear, out of whatever reason. Because Ketu is moksha karaka, but the word moksha comes from the root much. Much means to release. So to be released, Ketu wants to be released from responsibility. So moksha comes from much. Okay, and munchati is the verb. He releases, which means to release. So a Ketu person will seek to release them, to be released from their responsibility. And in the highest sense, you want to be released from the responsibility of being born again, of working, having a family, eating, maintaining this body. You're done with it, right? Moksha, release me. Please release me, let me go. Engelbert Humperdinck, Ketu guy. Ketu guy, singing about release. That was his most famous song. Sorry, I'm a little out of tune. So Ketu is moksha karaka. Anytime Ketu touches a house in your chart or an important planet, it will release you from the things having to do with that planet. And so here Ketu in LeBron's chart is with his 9th lord. So even though the Karaka is very strong, maybe his dad gave him good genes, but he wasn't around. And Saturn in Mrita Avastha, in that dead degree, the final 6 degrees of an odd sign, the first 6 degrees of an even sign, forget about it. Done deal. Anyone else you want to look at? Sir James. By the way, how much longer does Sir James have? Look, his Venus period, which has been his massive success period. Why? Because Venus, look at how strong Venus is in the D9 also. In the Lagna, Malavya Yoga, rocking and rolling, no malefic aspect. His Venus is just stellar. His Sun is also strong, very strong, aspected by Jupiter. But he's likely to retire after 2021, we think. Sometime in the Sun Dasha. Because the Sun is with Neptune. Neptune rules laziness. He's going to probably get tired of playing, I think. Who knows? But he's probably got another couple years left. Good years. And then into the Sun period, he's going to consider retiring, I think. All right. So that's it. I hope this was useful. You can use this for anything, not just father and mother. Yeah, and I am deeply involved in the compatibility protocol. My deep desire is to help people find love and come together. If you're interested, send me an email. I'll open up the course to you. The Kumbh Mela here in a little bit. So thank you, everyone, and see you soon.